Yeah, so this is a fair use from the Act of 1976. Disclaimer, Section 107, under critical and teaching and scholarship and educational purposes, research. I am not making any money off this. This is fair use, fair use. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kwadash, Kahaloyim, Yahweh Basham, Yahweh Shai, Basham, Rakha Kwadash. I want to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom to you sisters, your chwatim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Ram Yehuda with the lesson.
U.S.-based human rights activist news agency says over 3,500 people have been killed in Iran since the war erupted, including at least 244 children. This is Kariyun Haddad, a resident of Tehran.
They threatened a lot. Now, the infrastructure they threatened, they first gave a 5-day deadline, then a 10-day deadline, meaning there's still no news. They haven't been able to do anything. We defend our country. It's not like we want to abandon our country. Now, it's true that some people are with different coverings. I myself don't have a complete hijab, but I will never hand over my homeland to a people who are strangers to our country.
Israeli strikes across Lebanon Sunday killed at least 39 people as Israeli troops pushed deeper into southern Lebanon. Israel's ordered the expansion of its so-called buffer zone from the Litani River to areas north of the Zahrani River, displacing about 1/5 of Lebanon's population. Since Israel launched its war against Hezbollah on March 2nd, more than 1,400 people have been killed in Lebanon, including 126 children. This is Jamaat Salim Farhan, who's now homeless after Israeli strikes on Tyre left his neighborhood in ruins.
Someone who can barely afford their daily bread can't even buy a loaf, and then a plane comes and strikes? For what reason? Just because I'm sitting on my land? I will not leave. This is our land, and we will not give it up.
In Gaza, an Israeli drone fired.
Yeah, so this is a Google AI overview. It says in Genesis chapter 15, verse 18, it says God, which is really talking about the Most High, Yahweh, right, the Father, makes a covenant with Abraham, right, promising his descendants. See, he made a promise with Abraham about his descendants. Promising his descendants' land stretches from the river of Egypt, the great river, to the great river Euphrates, right? See, because ultimately, basically, that's what these small hatters are basically doing, right? You know, this is why they're having them cause that you know, well, the least of the flock should draw them out, right? To cause this conflict, you know, is one reason, right? Because they're not truly, they're not in the land. I mean, I know we always speak about how those devils are in our land, but they're really not. You know, they don't have the land unless they were in the land from the Nile River to the Euphrates. Then they would be in the land. So technically, they're not in our land. You know, I mean, they're in a piece of it, right? But they're not really in the land, to be honest, right? Because it says this territory, often called the promised land. See, that is the promised land. They're not in the promised land. They're in like, if you could say a 1%, something like that. They're in like 1% of the land, if that. They're like really like less than 1% of the land. That little tiny little thing that they call in Israel is not Israel. When you're talking from the Nile River to the Euphrates, that's a speck of dust. It's nothing, right? So they're not in the promised land. They're not in our land. And I know we always say that, but to be honest, you know what I'm saying? They're not in our land, right? Because that's the promised land, right? From the Nile River to the Euphrates, that would be our land, and is further defined as including the areas inhabited by the Kenites, Amorites, Canaanites, and others. The river Egypt is frequently identified as the Wadai al Alash al Arshar Shai She. So let's see if I can. Cause I know. There we go. I got it right there. See if it can tell me something. There it is.
Wadi El Arish.
Wadi El Alish Arish. Wali Alish Arish. Salakia. But, this is key details on the promised land boundaries. It says the Bible reference the core promises in Genesis 15 to 15, chapter 15, verse 18, with supporting expand or clarified boundaries in Exodus 23, Exodus chapter 23, verse 31, Numbers 34, verses 1 through 12, and Deuteronomy 11 and 24. All right. Yeah, so this is Genesis chapter 15. So we can go ahead and, start at 15 to 15. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. I mean, basically he's going to die. Thou shalt be buried, in a good old age, which it said that he had full of life. Even when he was 120 years old, he could still run like full speed, like as if he was 20 years old, right? It says, but in the fourth generation, they shall come hither again, right? Which is talking about, Abraham's descendants, which Abraham himself will be a descendant, right? Because in your fourth generation, you return, right? So he'll be returning himself, and when he returned, he would be an Israelite, right? Right? So it says, reincarnation or regeneration is biblical, right? For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet filled. So the those Hamites that lived in the land, or yeah, the Hamites that lived in that land, their iniquity had to be fulfilled before actually, before the children of Israel can move into that land, which is very a telltale sign of what's happening now with the small hatters, because your iniquity is pretty much filled. So it's about that time that you're going to have to get put out the land. But there's a little bit more that you have to do. You have to keep committing G-side, right? That way you fulfill your iniquity, right? Because you don't really have the land. So you're going to do what you could do to, I mean, two things, you know, you're trying to get the land, you're trying to have, so you can show that you have the blessing, but also that's uncharted territory as far as a lot of those places are unfit to have those 15-minute cities. So if you can kind of get them out of there, and then you can come back through you and Trump smiling, you know, Netanyahu and Trump smiling and say, hey, we'll rebuild. Because notice Trump was saying, hey, if Iran just stop, we'll help them, we'll rebuild them, and we'll build them better than ever. They'll be better than, no, what he's saying is we're gonna put in those 15-minute cities. We're gonna put them on the grid. We're gonna put the Palantir there, because what's there to help them you know, fight this fight anyway? That Palantir. It's a military a device, you know. It's not fit for citizens, you know. It's not a thing that you're supposed to use on citizens. Now you're fighting a war or whatever, that, I mean, that's a little bit different, but you're talking about what's showing that you're using it in the war, but you're going to be using it for everyday life as well, right? And it says, and it shall come to pass that when the sun went down, right? When the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and burning lamp that passed between those pieces, which must have been a chariot. That must have been a fathership, right? And it says, and then here's the point. It says in the same day, right, which was that night, which night is, you know, still part of the day of that day, right? It says Yahweh made, you know, well, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai for us now, but in that time it was just Yahweh, made a covenant with Abram, right? Because his name wasn't Abraham yet, it was just Abram, saying unto thy seed, which is going into his generation, right? His descendants, have I given this land. So the chariot, because it was lit. Wow, that's beautiful. And it was dark. So the chariot flew over between the pieces, between that land, and showed him how far his land expanded. And then because it was dark and the chariot was able to light up, he could actually see how far. Oh, wow. Beautiful. Yeah, see? Yeah. He could actually see how far it expanded. So the chariot went through those places where, you know, it was like, yeah, you rule from here, 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 here. And he's like, whoa, because he's looking at where the chariot is lighting up, showing him all that space that the land was given to his descendants, right? And it says, to thy seed, which is his children, not the whole world, right? Not anybody who just show up, you know what I mean? To thy descendants, or to thy seed, which is your descendants, having given this land from the river of Egypt, which would be the Nile River, which is very fertile ground. Back, you know about the Nile, was very fertile, rich soil, right? Which makes sense of the Lord calling it the land of milk and honey. Very rich soil from Egypt, from the Nile, unto the Euphrates, which is a very rich soil in the Euphrates. I mean, you're able to really cultivate a land, right, with good rich soil, with good water and rich soil, right? Exodus chapter 23, verse 31, right? It was saying basically that little article says, it expands a little bit more, give us a little bit more understanding. Might as well just go and just check it out. It says, and I will set thy bounds from the Red Sea, even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert unto the river, for I will deliver the inhabitants of the land unto your hand, right? The people, right? They're going to be our servants, slaves, things like that. They have to get put out the land, and they're gonna be into servitude or pay tribute, right? So it says, and thou shalt drive them out, right? First, we're gonna, put them out of the space that we're supposed to be in, out of that land, from the Red Sea, basically all the way to the Euphrates. This is what they're trying to do. What Amalek is trying to do, right? This was supposed to be done back in the time of, in the scriptures, right? Which eventually David did. David came and did it, right? David made that happen, right? That's why when Solomon got on the throne, it was actually the promised land, because it was literally from the Nile River or from the Red Sea all the way to the Euphrates, and that was the land map that Israel had, right? And it was actually the promised land at the time when Solomon was ruling. And it says, from the desert unto the river, and I will deliver the inhabitants of the land unto your hand, and thou shalt drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. See, and that's what actually got us put out the land, because we didn't drive them all the way out like we should have, and then we started taking into their customs, worshiping their gods, which prove Amalek. That's what you do. You worship you believe in the Talmud. You worship all those gods that the Hamites were worshiping, the Canaanites were worshiping. So your iniquity is about to be filled, and you're going to have to get put out the land. So they shall not dwell in thy land. See, and that's exactly, you shall not dwell in our land, because the second coming of the Messiah, which you guys are talking about, ain't going to be a dark brown hair hippie with brown eyes with pale skin, right? He's not going to be Serapis Christus coming out of the sky with a flower pot on his head, with this hippie flower love child type of atmosphere. No, 420 atmosphere. I mean, let's just chill. Let's just love. No, ain't going to be none of that, man. The Lord's coming to deliver his people that he died for, which is the elect, right? Starting with the elect. And he's going to destroy 2/3 of his own people and the rest of you nations, man. That's just it. Judgment, right? And it says, they shall not dwell in thy land, lest they make thee sin against me. For if thou serve their gods, it will surely be a snare unto thee. And that's what happened. But hey, it's also a snare unto you, Amalek, right? Though you're calling everybody else Amalek, you're really Amalek, and it's a snare unto you. Yeah, so this is Numbers chapter 24. I'm going to start at 1, right? And it said go into 12. It says, and Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, right, which Yahweh Bashem Yahushua spake unto Moses, commanded the children of Israel, and said unto them, when ye come into the land of Canaan, this is the land that shall fall unto you for an inheritance, even the land of Canaan. So it's not just the land of Canaan, it's more than just the land of Canaan. With the coasts thereof, says, when your south quarters shall be from the wilderness of Zin along by the coast of Edom, right? Because and that's befitting, because what? Edom's going to be destroyed, and that land's going to be given unto Judah, right? And so that's basically the Lord prophesied the end from the beginning, right? It says, and your south borders shall be the outermost coast of the Salt Sea eastward. Says and your borders shall turn from the south to the ascent of Akrabam, and pass on to Zin, and the going forth thereof shall be from the south to Shurbarna, and shall go on to Hazra Ador Hazarad, and pass on to Zaman, and the borders shall fetch and compass from Zaman unto the rivers of Egypt, right? And the goings out of it shall be at the sea, right? The Red Sea, from the E. As from the western borders, ye shall even have the great sea for a border. This shall be your western border, right? It says, and this shall be your northern border, right? Because they're not in the whole land. They're not in the whole entire land. It stretches far. From the great sea, ye shall point out for your Mount Hor, and from Mount Hor ye shall point out your borders unto the entry of Hamath, and the going forth of the borders shall be to Zedad, and the borders shall go on to Zephron, and the goings out of it shall be at Aran. As Aran, this shall be your northern border, right? And ye shall point out your eastern border from Aran to Shaphem, and the coast shall go down from Shaphem to Riblah on the east side of Anan, and the borders shall descend and shall reach unto the sides of the sea of Earth eastward, and the borders shall go down to Jordan, and the goings out of this shall be your land with the coasts thereof round about, right? So let's see where these, because I know these are closer to the thing, because this would be closer to Israel, like the Jordan River. Let's check out this other stuff over here. Yeah, so this thing that I'm on is called BibleMapper.com, right? Yeah, so it basically looks like I found this right here, and it basically tells you about, see right here, it tells you about the promised land promised land, and it basically is showing this in its blue, and then it says, according to Numbers 34 and Ezekiel 47, and it says the green represent the land allotted by Moses and Joshua, right? So when you look at this, even the thing that these devils outline blue, they didn't even do it the right way, right? Because when we just read it, it said even up to Hamath. So the blue should have been all the way up past that, north that way. Then it said south, even to Edom. So it should have went past Edom. But they're what they're trying to do. They're trying to not identify with Edom, right? Yeah, it said the Ammonites, right? So it should be all the way east past the Amorites, right? Where it says Ammon, right? That'd be the Amorites, right? And it said unto the desert, right? Which they call the Arabian desert. So it should have been all the way out here. So they're even shortening it. They don't know what they're doing, right? Because it should have went further. But see, that's why I say it's a cut to them when you say you're really not in the land, because it has to be from the Red Sea or from the Nile to the Euphrates, man. You're not really in the land. You're in this little speckle and then calling yourself Israeli when there's no such thing as that in the Bible, right? There's no state of Israel. We're the nation of Israel, right? Or the nation, which really you go back to the Paleo Hebrew, it's Yasharallah, right? It ain't anything what these devils is talking about, right? Yeah. So they didn't even complete where every place where that's not even the whole thing of the promised land. But even what they scoped out for the promised land, what they wrote in the blue was not even. It should have went all the way up north, further out. It should have went all the way out further east. It said out to the wilderness, right? Because even right here, it gives it more. It says, and then will Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai drive out all these nations before you, and ye shall possess greater nations and mightier than yourselves, right? Which that's not happening with the small hatters, right? I mean, they do in a sense, as far as they're the international bankers and everybody's, possessed by way of some type of a birth certificate or some type of contract, but to just possess them, they don't have it outright like that. Even we didn't do, because we end up following their gods. But in the end, overall, on the second coming of the Messiah, we will possess greater nations than ourselves. Why? Because we don't have a military like China. We definitely don't have a military like America's, right? We don't have the things that these people have. So we're gonna possess greater and mightier nations than ourselves. Why? Greater as a number and greater as in they have the military. But guess what's gonna happen? Yahweh Shai is gonna come, man, and wreck shop as he did in that time, right? But there was a lot of Israelites didn't have enough faith. But that's why the Lord's not dealing with waiting on all of Israel to have faith. That's why he's only dealing with the elect. Says every place whereon the soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours, right? And that's how you can prove that America belongs to Israel, because the northern kingdom was here first. This is actually belongs to Israel, but that's why the Lord's just going to cleanse this place, man, right? Through that thermonuclear fire, man, right? Because now this land can't be inhabited in the way that it's meant to be inhabited, because it's a certain way you're supposed to take care of this land. When the natives followed the buffalo and didn't just tear up everything, they grazed with the wildlife, right? And if they did put up what do you call it? How do you call it? Houses or whatever, you cut it proportionally to the trees. You just cut out only the trees that's around your house, and you don't deforestation everything. See, that would be the difference to what the Edomite did once they came to this land, right? And even once they got into the land over there, they're not doing a land Sabbath the way they should, though they're saying that they're the people. When you're chopping up pork and calling it kosher pork, just because you hang it upside down, it's still a pig. Like they tell you, if you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. Remember that? You know what I mean? It's still an abomination to the Lord, right? Kosher cigarettes. You know, this is the thing under the heathen, right? Now that they have our land, but their sins about to reach into heaven, man, real soon. Their iniquity is about to be filled, right? And it says, and shall tread, yeah. Oh, it says the sole of your feet tread shall be yours, for from the wilderness to Lebanon. See, and Lebanon's way past wherever they draw that thing at. You know what I'm saying? From the river, yep. And then from Lebanon, from the river of Euphrates, even unto the utmost sea, shall your coast be, right? And I believe that utmost goes into being what the Red Sea, right? So from the Euphrates all the way to the Red Sea, right? Yeah. Yeah, see, like this map, this is a pretty good map right here. So right here, the Suez Canal. That's how we crossed over right here on the little, like the more narrow part of it, you know, to go through, right? And then if you think of where Israel's at, what they have at Israel, it's not even this whole land either. You know, it's just a little speckle of this part right here. And then the Euphrates is way over here. And then it said all the way south to the part of that Arabian desert, which is all this. So really, we should have, this should be all, and then even parts of Africa, right? Because it said Egypt. So all this, Africa, right? Even into, going all the way over into here, right? That's the land we're supposed to possess. They possess this little speckle, a little part right here, almost like where that line's at. And that's all they possess today, right? And as you can see, yeah, see, there's the Nile. See, we put all this from the Nile, the Red Sea, yeah, because it said Egypt. There's Nile, all the way up to Egypt, through the Nile. That's what we'll possess. All of this, the Red Sea, all the way to the Euphrates, all the way over here to the Persian Gulf. We possess that. We possess that land. All of that, right? That's what's supposed to be possessed. And they don't have it, right? So that's why if you look at where they're striking at, right? This would be the Persian Gulf, right? This is where the battle's at, right here within here in the Straits, right? The Hormuz Straits. It's right in here. Right in here, the Hormuz Straits, and they're battling for that little part right in there, right? And then they're basically trying to will these people out of that land, all in here, all within the whole thing, so that way they can grab the Middle East. But like I said, it's a twofold thing, because a lot of those places are not set up for the MOTB, because their whole thing is to rule the entire world, to heap up to them all people, right? And you cannot do that if they out in the middle of the desert, out in the middle of nowhere, and there's no way to tag them. You have to come in and take down all this stuff and bring in the infrastructure, bring in things so you can tag everybody, right? So this is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. It says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine. See, and that's like I said, they're over there committing all sorts of transgressions against the Most High, against that land, believing in the Talmud, doing all sorts of seances and witchcrafts and sorceries, right? And then just you know, it's just all wine. And then like right now, the wine is like watered down, so to speak. That's why people are actually starting to see through it, but they still got manipulation over, you know, over a lot of things, because you know it's just what it is. They have to be the ones in the rulership when Yahweh Shai get back, right? So some people are still, you know, drunken with the wine, even though it's watered down. They're still, a lot of people are still drunk off of it. That's why Trump can come out and say that he gave the Palestinians, the protesters, guns, and nobody's really talking about that. Besides Candace Owens, she brought this guy completely out of his mouth, said he gave guns to the protesters, hoping that they would go in there and uprise, which kind of makes sense. But you don't tell the world. But that's Bible prophecy, that they tongue shall fall upon themselves, right? But that's part of that wine, and showing that wine is like watered down. It's not what it used to be. But the people are still getting drunk off of it, so to speak, right? Because people are still, though mega's falling apart, there's still a lot of people that's mega mega into them, right? They're mega crazy, right? Or MAGA crazy, right? He is a proud man, yeah, and nobody's more prouder than Donald Trump, man. That guy is super proud, man. It's ridiculous. Says neither a keeper at home, right? Because they could be focusing on America, focusing on the infrastructure, focusing on the the problems that you have here with the farmers and the things like that, the homelessness, the what is it called? The mental illness. It's like the mental illness, the certain things that's going on here. You could be focused on that, right? Matter of fact, you can even be focusing on some things that make it more proud to be an American. Build up stronger men. You should have where every man has to learn boxing and taekwondo, and you got to learn it from the time you're young. Because this is what these other countries are doing, right? You really want to fight a war, you want to win a war. That's how you would do it. But see, what you're afraid of is that as every time you ever did, it always backfired on you. Osama bin Laden backfired on you. Who else? Some of the other people, even China. You trained China how to finally conquer Japan, and China's looking at you like a small child right now. They don't give a damn. Like who are you? But if you didn't help them conquer Japan, China would be Japan. It'd be a bigger portion of Japan. Japan just wouldn't be a little small island somewhere if you didn't help them. See? But hey, it's but yeah, you're not a keeper at home, who enlarges his desire as hell and is as death. And see, and everywhere you go, your thing is to bring your desire. Your desire is this novos ordo seclorum. And then by way of doing it is what? These different minerals, things to make the chips, to make the missiles, to make the what is it called? The data centers work. There's a certain amount of silver and copper and different things, that you need, uranium, so that you can make these data centers work in order to push the MOTB, to order to make a new grid so that you can make these smart cities. So you need those you need the material from the land, right? That's why it says, and his desire is as hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied, right? So your desires to perform this your enterprise, right? The MOTB, the Novus Ordo Seclorum, right? And you need those materials. And if it comes to thousands of people dying, you don't care, right? And is at death, people start dropping dead because of you. When you show up, bodies go to hell. Hell meaning the grave, right? And you're as death itself, right? Well, it says that you're the pale horse that took peace from the earth, right? Or the red horse that took peace from the earth, right? Well, let me look it up now. I gotta look it up because I know there's one about a pale horse, and then the red horse, and then of course the black horse, right? When you're about to make the whole world go through a famine, right? Yeah. So this is Revelation chapter 6, verse 8, and I looked, and behold, right, which behold means to look in itself, a pale horse, right? That's what it was. Say a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was death. See, yeah, that's what it is, right? But also, was it 6? No, 3. 4. Revelation chapter 6, verse 4. And there went out another horse, right? Horse represent power, that was red, and power was given unto him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. And ultimately, you're going to do that too. Because through all this, you're going to take peace from the earth. Right? And that they should kill one another. Right? See? Still death. When you show up, death is definitely there. Right? And they shall kill one another. Right? It's going to be civil war, race wars, calamities, wars. You know what I mean? And really it goes back to just you. Just in general. Esau always goes to war with himself. Right? The one that you fought the most against is yourself, right? Most of your wars you fought against, it was yourself, going all the way back, man. You devils love to fight, even if you got to kill yourself. World War I, World War II, if you got to kill yourself, you don't care, right? World War III, right? You got the Edomite against the Edomite. You don't have America against Russia, right? You love to kill yourselves, right? But in that, you're gonna have everybody else going to war and all this other different things, so civil wars, what they call civil wars, right? Killing, and they shall kill one another, and there was given him a great sword, right? Which that's your power, that was your blessing, right? So that's basically what it is. But let me get back to this, because basically this is what I was trying to go to that Habakkuk, right? That's what it said, which is as death or as hell. And it says, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was death, and hell followed with him. Hey, that's you, Esau, Edom. And power was given them over the fourth part of the earth. See, and that's where you're at right now. You're technically ruling all four parts of the earth, but you need to bring in the MOTB. You got to bring in, what is it called? Technocracy. And when you're dealing with that land in the Middle East with all those people, it's just a bunch of sand and desert. You have to basically bring in the things to bring in the technocracy. Unless you there's no other way to do it but the way you're doing it. Because you ain't gonna just force those people to just throw their life over into technocracy, because they live a certain way. They believe in Allah. They believe in ancient ways. And they're not really into doing all those things. But you have to do a way of forcing or causing the situation to worsen, right? You're going to block the Strait of Hormuz, which the Iranians are most likely working for you, right? At this point, this is all smoke and mirrors. This is all theater, right? As of now. And then it's gonna choke out the world, and everybody's gonna have to get involved and get with the digital ID, which eventually is gonna bring in the micro C-hip. See? All right. And it says, and power was given them, so like over the fourth part of the earth. See, to kill with sword, right? The modern day sword is the gun, the missile, the bomb, the grenade, the whatever. The Palantir, the drone, right? The micro C-hip. It's all the sword, bro. And that's you. And how you gonna exactly, bro? Ooh, can't make this up. And with hunger and with death, man, that's exactly how you are going to get grips over the whole. You're gonna make everybody hungry. They're gonna have. Hey, Mr. White Man, hey, here, please give me the. With hunger. And with death, with the beast of the earth, right? Hey, and that's you. You're the main beast of the earth. You're the beast of the earth, and you're gonna get everybody's gonna be hungry and needing things. And hey, man, hey, sign me up. Where do I get the digital ID at? And eventually, you predict the programming situations. You've already basically did the what's it called, the pendulum swing. Right, you change trajectory. You sought to change times and seasons, and it's going to make people. Oh, it's not so bad, right? That's the mentality and the things that you're hoping to put upon the people of the world, all four corners, because you have it. The Lord said you're going to have it in your hand, and that's what you're pushing. Yeah, it said enlarge his desire as hell. And is as death, right? Going back to that. So like I just had to do, and cannot be satisfied, right? Until the novus ordo seclorum, it's fully implemented. If it ain't fully, if you ain't satisfied, right? Even Biden said, hey, we're losing patience or something like that. He said, I was like, who the fuck is we? Hey, man. And what's crazy is, as soon as he said that, society shift. Man, man. Because what's crazy is, he didn't say, I'm losing patience because I'm the president. Showing you that he's a puppet. He works for the elite. And he was giving you the message from the elite. We're losing patience. You don't want us to have to speed this thing up, do you? Because basically they already had the supposedly the Red Sea was locked up. Remember, they was trying to say that the shipping and the supply chain thing was kind of jacked up then, right? But now the Strait of Hormuz, and now it's a bigger and a greater so-called blockage, right? Which is all set up, it's all smoke and mirrors, right? Because they want to bring that hunger and death to you, right? Right? And meanwhile, while they're doing that, and they're insatiable, they can't be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. And now that makes more sense when you think of that, because we always usually read this and just understand, oh, that's America. You know, it tells you that it's what is it called? The melting pot. They heap it to himself. No, this is starting to make a lot more sense when you're thinking of the MOTB. All nations, literally all nations, all four corners of the earth, all nations, and heap it to him all people. Man, hey, he is not satisfied until he has all people micro C-hipped, right? And he don't care if you have to die, right? Well, that's part of their thing too. When you go back to the Georgia Guidestones, and they said they only want 500 million or something like that. So that's pretty much damn near the whole planet of people, because it's like about 8 billion people. So they're speaking of 7.5 billion people being put to death anyway. So don't count on yourself living, right? Anyway, I mean, you can get the micro C hit, but don't even then, right? Even then, don't count on yourself living, because you get the micro C. Hey, it's going to be a grievous sword. That thing is going to cause, some type of sickness and oozing from your hands, right? What was it that Jacob's family that was in Florida? They all got the big C word and dropped dead. You know the thing that they have for was it October? People wear the pink, but it's more than just breast C word. There's C words throughout the whole entire body, dealing with he is as death, man. Hey, but see, but it's now starting to make more sense. Heap it to him all nations. Heap it to him all people, bro. Man, heap it to him, man. It making a lot sense. You deal with the micro C hip now, right? And that desert, it's a wide open desert, and it's a bunch of nothing out there. They got to find a way to surveillance. They got to find a way to get out and make those people be under this Novus Ordo Seclorum, right? You can't just let them. You know what I'm saying? This ain't the Wild West. You can't just let them just be out there gallivanting alone. Nah, man. They want to be God. I want to know where everybody's at. You know what I'm saying? I want to know what everybody's doing. Everybody needs to be under rule and thumb, right? Just because you out in the whatever Middle East, the Arabian Desert, the next to the Euphrates, and you out in Lebanon and Yemenis, and nah, man, come check in. They on their big U. You gotta check in. All right. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, right? People, and they expect for you to protest, right? Against him, and say, woe, right? Destruction, judgment, weeping and gnashing of teeth to him that increase of that which is not his, right? How long? Hey, how long is this devil going to rule the earth? Well, it said he was going to rule all four corners of the earth, but how much longer? Not much longer. His sin's about to reach into heaven, right? But until then, what? He laved himself with thick. How long? And to him that laved himself with thick clay, abayat, which is dead. So everything's all debt, heavy debt. And they don't care, because they're never going to have to pay it. right? They're gonna transfer it over to the 500 million people that they expect to live, and you'll never be able to work it off, because if you're the 500 million that they want, you have to have the debt of the other 7.5 billion people that they put to death, and one person couldn't pay off their debt, let alone you pay off the debts of 700 billion, 707, how you say 700 or 7,500,000 people, right? How do you pay the debt off of that? You know, if I've said it right, Salakia. But yeah, that's debt, man. And that's how they run that, right? They want you to be part of that system, that Novus Ordo Seclorum. But they can't let them people be out in that desert and not have a way to micro-hip them. So this is Micah chapter 2, verse 2. Says they covet fields and take them by violence, right? And houses and take them away, right? So that's what they're doing. They're bombing these people to hell and back, right? Taking over their thing, because guess what? Yeah, they at the same time they are pushing the thing in for that Novus Ordo Seclorum. They have to push in to let technocracy reign, because those people out there in that desert and out in the middle of nowhere, but not to mention they're ancient people. They got an ancient way of thinking, even though they don't believe in Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, they still have an ancient way of their behavior, right? They still part of the Abrahamic family that actually kept some of the customs that Abraham gave them. I mean, they don't believe in Yahweh, right? Which they should know about Yahweh, right? That's who they should be praying to, because that's what Abraham gave to Isaac. But of course, they went about their own, you know, first they started worshiping a bunch of gods, and then eventually got down to so-called one God, which they were still copying us, but they couldn't do it to the fullest. You know, they praise to the east, and they call him Allah, right? But Allah only means power, right? The Israelites would be Allahayim, right? Which means angels, and that's what we're gonna be. Especially once we get that body like Yahweh Shai, we're gonna the Allahims are gonna be on earth in a terrestrial, what's it called? Terrestrial and a celestial body, basically. You know what I mean? But then you got the Allahims in itself, the angels, right? You know, the actual angels, the angels that's in the fourth dimension, right? So to call on Allah like that means nothing. It ain't calling on the true power, the Father of spirits, the Father of every soul, of every spirit, which is Yahweh, right? But they do have an ancient way, and so it's going to take some beating it into them people, right? And they have to push forth this technocracy. But they do covet fields, because what? Coveting means they want to be able to say that they have the blessing, that they run it from the Nile River or the Red Sea to the Euphrates. Oh, this is the Holy Land. This is but we'll just let some of you people live in these convenient 15-minute cities. See, we do love the people. Don't you know that? See, come on home here. You can have these 15. You know what I mean? And then meanwhile, they rewrite history and say that they fulfilled the prophecy, and they do own. I mean, come on, bro. It's just that's the devil, bro, right? And it says because when you read this, go into the blue letter, it says destruction to the oppressor, to the oppressors. So this is the Lord is basically saying this is what's going to happen to you oppressors. You're going to be destroyed, right? So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage, right? And what are they doing? They're oppressing him. Even Trump, like I said, Trump saying he sent guns to the protesters, man. But nobody's saying anything about it, right? Right? It says, therefore, thus saith Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, behold, against this family. See, ultimately you're going to be destroyed. The Most High is against your family, right? The Rothschild, the Bilderbergs, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the Oppenheimers, right? The Vendegoss, right? You know what I mean? All you families, man. The Lord is against you. Against this family do I devise an evil, right? Which means a bad time, right? From from which ye shall not remove your necks. And you're not getting out of this. So you could push forth the MOTB, you could do whatever you want to do, but it's not going to stop the destruction and your removal out of power, because you are the unrighteous steward, right? You're not a good landlord. You're not a good because that's basically what it is. It's like a landlord, right? You have not been a good landlord, right? You don't own it. You're just a landlord, right? See, you're like one of those people who take their job too serious. Now you running this like you own it. I mean, not to say you're not supposed to be prudent, but you don't own it. You can't just do whatever you want. But that's what you've been doing whatever you want in the world, right? But the Lord said, ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, right? Your pride, and just march off in pride. Yeah. We fulfilled our order. Yeah, the novus ordo seclorum. Yeah, we got everybody. That's why the Lord said, and your fullness of your sufficiency. Hey, you're gonna be taken, man. Right? The proverbial rug is gonna be swept right from underneath your feet. For this is the time of what? Of evil. So it ain't gonna look good for you. But this is what they plan on doing, because they do covet fields. That's what they want to do. They want to brag and say we do fulfill prophecy. We got the land from here to, but right now you don't. You got to try to wipe these people out in 2026. And why would you wait till now when America is on its 250th year and most empires don't last past 250 years? So they're on their way out, right? Yeah, this is Deuteronomy 19. The point I'm trying to make is in 14, but when I was reading this actually kind of goes with it too, right here. It says, but it's 11. This is Deuteronomy 19:11. But if any man hate his neighbor, right? The world, people live in the world. You can't just be doing things. These are supposed to be the neighbors, especially when it comes to how they hold up Christianity. Everybody's your neighbor, but see, then Amalek don't feel that way, right? Though the so-called Christians would say that these people are the people, but they don't think you have salvation the same way that they have. They don't think you have salvation at all, right? They just call you goyim. So other people are not your neighbors, but guess what? Those your neighbors are meant to be your brothers, according to this, for the Israelites. But just to put this in perspective, as far as those are other Middle Eastern countries, those are your neighbors, right? If any man hate his neighbor and lie in wait for him, right? They've been talking about 40 years. Iran has been and Iran in 40 years, right? That means you've been lying in wait. And rise up against him and smite him, right? And that's what you did. You had so-called peace talk, and then you started smiting them mortally, right? You killed their Ayatollah, right? Mortally, that he die, and flee into one of the cities. See, and that's what Bibi did, man. He's been fleeing from they said that he got war crimes. He's been fleeing from the war crimes, right? Which Donald Trump is on the brink of people saying that he's committing war crimes. Then no one said it yet, but I can see it happening soon. That they're gonna say even Trump is guilty of war crimes. They're gonna put him up on some type of put charges on him, right? Then the elders of his city, right, which is really talking about the Israelites, but you're supposed to be in that land. You're supposed to be an Israeli. Well, and even not to mention America, you're supposed to be Christians. You're a Bible-believing country, and this, and that. Well, these laws are going to pertain in the time of Yahushua returning, right? Though y'all want to bring back the Messiah. Well, when the Messiah comes, this is all gonna take place. He's gonna judge you according to this, right? Because you didn't do your niggers too well, right? You didn't do these niggers too well, right? Come to find out, hey, we're the Israelites, man. We're the people of the Bible, man. So hey, hey, you in trouble, bro. You should have never touched a so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, man. But not even just that. There's other people, like the Lord don't have it where you just smite people for no, like, you know what I mean? There is war. The Lord is a man of war, And there is war. The Lord like the theater of war. War is war. That's not necessarily, but when you're doing it in like a weird, deceitful way, and then and then you're committing, you have these scenarios that decree what's a war crime and what's not a war crime, and then you break every law and all the things that people set out to say. This what says that you're humane and you're humane people. Okay, yeah, people go to war, this and that, but there has to be a way that you do it humanely, so to speak, right? But you're talking about knocking out infrastructure, this and that. People, elderly needs their, they need their medicine. They need different things. You knock out the infrastructure. Someone has absolutely nothing to do with the war is gonna be punished for it. But that's what you intend to do everywhere in the whole world, because the world needs to bow down to you, right? Because you got to take peace from the earth, right? So it says, mortally that he die. And yeah, flee to this, and then the elders of the city shall fetch him. Okay, yeah, it says the elders of the city, of his city, shall send and fetch him thence, and deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood, which that's going to be Yahweh Shai. You're going to get delivered to Yahweh Shai, right? It even tells you that those who will not, that I should reign over them, bring them hither and slay them before me. And ain't no Edomite wants the Lord to serve him. I mean, he don't want to serve the Lord. You don't want to serve the Lord, right? So the avenger of blood, which in that time is going to be Yahweh Shai, that he may die. See, Esau, you're done, right? People don't understand it. The laws that's not in effect right now, which really they are, but they're going to be in true effect when Yahweh Shai get back. He's going to implement this. Thy eyes shall not pity. See, shall not pity him. So the Lord's not going to pity Esau, Edom. He's not going to pity you 2/3, you jakes out here gang banging against each other, right? You've been shedding blood. You just go over and do a drive-by and you kill, and then, man, and you think the Lord's not going to judge you? No, man. You're doing crazy stuff, making jerky out of little fetuses and stuff like that. You're doing crazy stuff on Epstein Island. You think the Lord's going to just let that slide? No. When he comes back, he's coming to judge all these things that's on this earth, right? You rebellious women, right? All you do is twerk on internet and this and that and be rebellious against your husbands, or a lot of you don't even have husbands. You're too simple to know to have a husband and really find a man of the Lord. Really, that would be your best bet. But the Lord, a judgment is going to come, man. You're going to find out that there is a God, right? And you're going to find out the hard way, right? Right? And it says, but thou shalt put away the guilt of innocent blood. See, because you slayed the innocent and righteous blood of the children of Israel is crying out against this devil, man. Right? And against even you Jakes, man. You so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, man. The innocent and righteous blood cries out against you, right? From Israel, right? Yeah, the innocent blood, and you gotta cleanse it out from Israel, right? Yasha'Allah, really, because we're gonna be Yasha'Allah in that day. That it may go well with thee, right? It's gonna go very well, because Yahweh Shai is gonna cleanse everything up. The missiles in itself is gonna do a great cleansing. Fire is a great cleansing agent. It says, thou shall not remove thy neighbor's landmark. See, and ultimately that's going into the point what I'm trying to make, because that's what you did. You went and you killed a bunch of people so you could declare the land, right? So you can move their landmarks, right? Thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time, especially them in the Middle East, they've been out there having that. Lebanon, they've been having. That's why those people that do say, hey, even the woman said, I don't have a job, but I'm not leaving my land. The dude said, I can't even afford my daily bread, which that's Esau, man. He's the black horse, where you're gonna have to pay a day's wage to get your daily bread, right? So here it is. He said, I can't even get my daily bread, and I got missiles coming from a jet or a drone. But he said, I'm not leaving my land, right? Because what? They covet fields, and they take them by violence, right? But it says, which they had of old time have set in thy inheritance, right? And every nation has their own inheritance of land, which the Most High gave these people, which he's going to do it again. He's going to give them their own inheritance of their own land and say, hey, once you serve your 1,000 years of slavery, now you're going to get your own land and you're going to pay tribute and you're going to worship and serve Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. You're going to do the holy days. You're going to do all this thing and everything's going to be great. After your 1,000 years, that's when you're going to see the benefits. That's when you're truly going to see the benefits of Yahweh Shai and King David and us, Lord willing, I'm part of that number, ruling over you heathen, man. You're gonna truly understand the benefits and what was beneficiary to you under that righteous reign, that righteous rulership, right? Which thou shalt inherit in the land that Yahweh thy power giveth thee to possess it. And we're going to be able to possess all the heathen. We're going to possess all the heathen. And basically the Lord said he made the world for our sake. But we got our slaves and the people, they got to have some place to live. Well, what are we going to do? We're not Esau. We're not just going to have you living in a little chicken shack and then make you work from sun up to sundown. Well, in the beginning, but at the end, we're not going to, overall, after your 1,000 years of slavery, you're not going to be living like that. There's going to be, you're going to have your, it's going to be, same upper, you're going to be in rank, upper echelon down to the lower echelon. And then, of course, the upper echelon of your people are going to have to come meet our king, but you're going to have to be on the outside of the courts, and you have to give your, you have to give your riches of your nations, because you're going to have to tax your people. And after you take the taxes from your people, you have to give it to the Israelites, right? But it ain't going to be what do you call it? Underhanded thing. We're going to set a price, and then next year it's going to go up, and the next year it's going to go up, and then the next year after that it's going to go up, and it's going to change again, and then the next year it's going to change again. No, it's going to be a set price. Everything's going to be a certain way. It's going to run and function the way it's meant to run and function, without any deceit or any cowardness. I'm going to come behind you and kill your family, and then tell you that somebody else did it, and then come over here and do this and go, hey, well, look what they did to me, and you know what? We need to cause war on them. None of that's going to be happening, right? So I hopefully, Lord willing, I made my point, because that's just what it is. That's how these devils get down. They remove people landmarks. They murder. They lay in wait to murder people, and they do it deceitfully, and and the whole thing is just, hey, it said they're going to rule the four corners of the earth with the sword. So, I mean, what do you do with the sword? I mean, so call Volume Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rekha HaKodash. Yeah, double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well, to the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To your sisters, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence, and a Bible ball. Yeah, Lord willing, it's a good lesson. I mean, Lord willing, Shalom, shalom. Kwam Yasharallah.